Hello guys, Wahoo here, back on a video. This time around we are doing another episode of the Hello Guys podcast. And in this one we got LateCom in the episode here. We're going to talk with him for about an hour. I'm making this intro mostly because I wanted to tell you guys that the audio was a little bit messed up in the beginning. He does peak out for... I don't know if it's a 5 or 10 minutes or so. I think it's only 5 where I kind of tune it down to being more regular and such. So if you feel like he's peaking in the beginning here, that's because I had to adjust the audible, and also there was a little mistake with his microphone and such also that happened, but we got through it. And I think it's a brilliant episode that I got to talk to LateCom. If you don't know who he is, he's a content creator for Trove, and he's linked in the description. You know his YouTube down there, so you go check that stuff out if he returns to Trove, actually. But we're going to talk about that in the episode as well. But I just wanted mainly to make this intro so you guys could kind of know that about the audio, and just keep that in mind for it. It's not going to be the whole episode, so it's going to be here in the beginning. And yeah, so just I guess you can turn it down a little bit here in the beginning, and then it will even itself out later on in the episode. And like I said, most of the episode, the hour here, is going to be with amazing ish at least audio from me and him. And I'm not a professional in audio whatever. This is just my janky setup. So but that I think makes it more real, right? But anyways, this is the episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and here are mine and LateCom's conversation. You got recommended by, I don't know if you've seen any of the podcast episodes.
I mean, I've seen one with Cash and Clean, but so far that's been the main one, I guess.
Yeah. He recommended you. I asked them to recommend some people, that they thought this going to be interesting, because there's a lot of people out there, so it's kind of hard to pick and choose who people would find interesting to talk about or to talk to. So he recommended you. That's why we're doing this now. He recommended some other people as well. See if they have any interest in joining up. But yeah, you were happy to join.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, we are already recording. If you're not, so anything you say will be used against you, I guess.
Hi YouTube, I guess.
No, but I just kind of start the recording randomly, because it just makes it more natural, instead of just making okay, 1 through 3 go,
Yeah, then they'll be like, oh, I put on a new face or something,
Yeah, exactly. But you said, and the format is kind of like sort of a talk, but it's also, we're probably going to speak some Trove as well, but mostly it's going to be learning about you, right? So, and the main thing I kind of wanted to ask, ever since you said, when I asked you, you said that we could do it around this time because you would be back in London. And that kind of triggered some interest for me, because it's like, what is, I think I just need some more explanation. I think it's just a cool, maybe something people would know, wanted to know about, I guess.
Oh, so the reason why I'm currently in London, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, so basically I'm currently starting my second year in university. I'm from Malaysia originally, but currently doing my university studies abroad in London. And so I'll be here for another probably 1.5 years, hopefully longer if I get a job here. But yeah, that's pretty much where it stands. And I'm pretty much based in the UK if it's not the summer, and based back in Malaysia at home when it's over the summer break. So I just came back like a couple of days ago, close to a week ago now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So Malaysia and the UK is very far from each other.
Yeah. So it's like 14 hours.
So of course, maybe it makes a lot of sense, but like, why not study in Malaysia, and or why the UK for that matter? Like, why not somewhere else? Like, I don't know, Spain.
I think in general, I feel like most of the people that study in Malaysia are like really wanting to make it out, because it depends. I don't really want to get too into specifics, because I don't know who's watching this, but at the same time, I feel like I just feel a lot of people find the job opportunities in Malaysia to not be as lucrative as it is overseas. Let's say Australia. Generally, people move over to Australia, the US, the UK, perhaps Canada as well. And these are kind of like the top spots for most of the people looking to find a good university to study in. So in general, I feel there is more job opportunities in like because Malaysia is not as a very developed country as opposed to like Australia, US, UK, Canada, and perhaps even Germany as well, because I've heard that Germany offers free education for university studies. But other than that, I feel in comparison, if we were given the option to study abroad, we would take that for sure.
Yeah.
Just based on how much better the education system is overseas.
But the education in the UK is not free, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, it isn't. But I feel like the return that you get for the opportunity to study abroad will be much more than the cost it is to study there in the long run.
Okay. Is education free in Malaysia, or how's the education system, I guess, in Malaysia?
It depends, I guess. If you're going into like a local university, perhaps the cost will be close to none. But still a decent amount, I'd say. But nothing in comparison to going overseas, I'd say. But generally, it would be tough to get into the top university in Malaysia because of some racial quota. I don't really want to delve too deep into it,
No.
But there is like a kind of quota thing that we'll have to abide to, and if you're in the minority side, then it would be a little tougher to get into the top ones in Malaysia. But as I've said, like I would say the rankings aren't the best. Even the best ones in Malaysia.
Not restart. We'll continue now, I guess.
Continue.
Yeah. So I hope the levels are fine now. It seems like to be fine on the things I can see from here without ending the recording. So I would not like to end because it's also more. It's supposed to be more natural, and this is just stuff that happens when you are on a call with somebody, or you are talking to somebody. Some things are bound to go wrong, and I think that makes it more real. But yeah, we were talking about you were just ending by saying that that the levels of the Malaysian universities are not on the same level as the UK, like.
Yeah, in terms of, I guess, just the quality of education, I would say. Just in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much about why perhaps a lot of people are planning to move over into the foreign countries to get a better education, I guess.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, but so I'm kind of curious when you're saying it like that. Is it because like in America, for example, that's the only other place I know kind of how the system kind of works, and just you can get all those scholarships and stuff like that. But the thing is, what I'm thinking is that, and I don't know if there's any politics involved in if you can go to a university, but I know it's like you pay, of course, for your education over there.
Yeah.
Is it the same in Malaysia, where the more you pay, the better, or the more you can pay, the better university you can also get into?
I feel like to some extent it's more about the grades, but at the same time, as I've said earlier, there's like some sort of quota, and some groups will get an easier way out than some others. But at the same time, I think it mainly, at least for me, right, grades will be like the main indicator of which university you go to, and then from then on, if you get into like sort of a good university, then the job opportunities and prospects will be better. But of course, it doesn't mean that if you go to a little worse off uni, that you won't be able to get the same job opportunities, right? It just depends on how hard you work from then on. It's just that it gives you a kind of better level of playing field. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So why the UK? Why did you choose like UK and to educate yourself? Is it specific education you want, or is it just because it's that much better, or why
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like when I was doing my A levels, which is basically like year 12 or 13,
Mm.
um, I kind of had this thought where it was probably a choice between the UK or the US or probably even Canada as well.
Oh.
But seeing as to how US is, I feel just my thoughts because I've been to the US for like about a month, a few years back. I mean, it's
Mm.
a nice place, but at the same time, right? I'm not really that comfortable with guns and all that.
No, no.
So I just find the UK to be a little better in that aspect,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
because I've been hearing about a lot of shootings in the US and UK's nothing like that. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always had a dream that I was gonna live in America because I
Hmm.
find the country very fascinating. But
Hmm.
after growing up and kind of
Hmm.
understanding a lot more stuff and also visiting that America, like America is great and it's well worth visiting many times and
Yeah, for
such.
sure.
But living there is such a different thing. It's so
Yeah.
it's really not that it's not great living there compared
Hmm.
to other countries at least. And of course that's
Yeah.
also saying a lot because I'm from Denmark, right? And we have it
Hmm.
like maybe the easiest in the world probably because we have
Hmm.
we have free education here. It's free.
Oh,
We
like up to university as well.
University is also included. Yes,
Cool.
every education is free, and also you get paid for going there. You get something called SU, which is study
Hmm.
payment, if you can say it like that. So you don't have to have a job on the side. Many people do have it because they can have
Hmm.
it, and then you can make that
Yeah.
extra money. So people of course want that extra money, but you actually don't have to. I actually didn't do that when I was going up,
Mm.
but I didn't go to university though. But I did have what we call a mid education, which is just below. If I studied 2 more years, I would have it in at a university level. But since
Hmm.
I'm a teacher, I didn't need to have that more, and because there's not really
Uh-huh.
necessary, it would just be kind of a waste. But I could do it now because I have the proof.
Hmm.
I have the
Yeah.
certificate, so I could actually just go to university, study 2 more years, and have that as well, and then I would be at that level. But yeah, that's all free.
But that brings the question, right? Like, does university actually matter? Like, because a lot of people just, they go to university, they just study something that they don't even want to do as a job, and then, they just don't apply that knowledge anywhere.
Yeah,
So,
that's always a balance thing. Some people are just gonna do it for doing it, and some people don't know what they want to do, so they do it. And and of course,
yeah.
it's free. You're not maybe invested as much as you are, but like I don't know. I guess because you still need that job, right? So you don't need to
Yeah, for
finish it.
sure.
So
Yeah.
maybe you won't finish with the best grades, but then on the other hand, you will still have the education, and then you can apply for those jobs. But some jobs look very much at your numbers or your grades, right? So you
Yeah.
can't just slack off in a sense because then you can't
Hmm.
get that job you want.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
but yeah, it is free, and it's because we paid through our taxes, so we have very high tax. But then
Ooh.
everything becomes free because we then take all the tax we pay, and then we
Hmm.
apply it to hospitals,
Yeah,
educations.
that is great.
Yeah, I think it's a great system. Like, of course, it's half our pay, but uh, in Denmark, there's nobody that's really poor.
Hmm.
Of course, we have people that has less money. Of course, that's always
Yeah.
everywhere, and you also have people that has more money. But we have a big middle group, like big working class. That's how it
Hmm.
kind of works. But yeah, but also that system. We actually talked about it with a friend yesterday. I think it was no day
Uh-huh.
before, where we were talking about being. Oh yeah, because he was just in America. So it's actually a little bit while back. But we talked about in America because there's no safety net. If you are
Hmm.
homeless, you are just homeless. You can't really do
Yeah.
anything about it. In Denmark, you can actually choose to not be homeless because you can go to the state and say, I'm homeless. So then they will give you a, what's it called, a home, and they will give you
Hmm.
some money, but not very much. And you will have to really, save all your money and just only use it for
Hmm.
food and stuff like that. So you're not going to get rich or anything like that, but we will
Yeah.
provide housing for you. So you just don't run around and being kind of a a homeless person, but you can actually so it's more of a choice thing, and that's kind of maybe some people be like, I don't want to pay for somebody else, but I kind of feel good about it because I'm not directly helping, but I'm still helping people that
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so that's just it's kind of education in Denmark, how it kind of works. So I'm just kind of fascinated how other places do it, like for example in the UK. So what are you studying in the UK, and again, why UK? I think I don't know why we I don't know if we answer if I cut you off answering that. I don't know.
I think it was more of like a process of elimination,
Yeah.
if not US, then perhaps the UK would be the better option, because I wouldn't really want to go to Australia as well. Too many insects, too many bugs that I've heard stories about.
Yeah. Oh, but I was thinking like education-wise, is there a specific education in the UK that that you have to go to the UK to get because you want to educate yourself in a specific way, or?
Yes, in some sense, but of course it was also available in the US, because I'm planning to go into more of quantitative trading, perhaps into finance.
Okay.
And so the US and the UK are main two big players in this space. We have the main headquarters. Like the US is really, really big in finance. We have Wall Street over there, but at the same time, in the UK we have the London Stock Exchange and all that. So it was, as I said earlier, more of like a process of elimination. Since I didn't really want to go to the US, the UK was like the next best thing, and so happened to be the best thing so far, as I've experienced over the past year. And yeah, the course that I'm doing right now is kind of more mathematical, and I wouldn't be able to get it back in Malaysia because I don't really think there are that many opportunities for jobs, as I've said, because the economy over there isn't really doing as advanced stuff as what the US and the UK is doing. So there wouldn't really be a place for me if I were to pursue something as quantitative as what my degree is going to offer.
Okay, so you want to find a job in the UK. You don't want to go back to like Malaysia and work in Malaysia?
Well, perhaps in the long run, right? But, I'll never know. Maybe after like 5 years, after getting like enough experience and after enjoying what I do, perhaps I might go back and probably start up something. But that's probably too far in the future for me to think about. And for now, my goal is to probably get a job here, just work for a couple of years to gain and build up that experience, build up that connections as well, get to know more people, get to know what working life is like in the UK as well. So it's gonna be a really interesting experience, but only time will tell, I guess.
But I guess also the salary is very different, So if you want to start your own thing in Malaysia at some point, you will need some capital, and I guess that goes a much longer way if you have a certain. Let's say you have a mid-size, probably. Let's say what's it called again? Now I forgot the name. I just had it. I just said it. A capital. Yeah. If you have a mid-sized one, let's say you have something where you can like barely start something in UK, it would be like a lot bigger in Malaysia because of the financial situation there's in between the two countries. Yeah, that's awesome. So there's nothing specific that there's not a name for what you're educating yourself as, like it, or is it just a finance guy?
Probably quantitative finance, and more mathematical aspect of finance, because finance is a really broad term. There are many different departments within it, but generally speaking, it's more towards quantitative finance and a lot of maths, just a lot of maths and a lot of like coding as well.
So what would be like a day in a life for a person like that? What would you be like doing? Would you be like looking at a lot of numbers, or because I'm also thinking about those guys that are at the what's it called again? I was thinking auction house. That's not what it's called, but
the markets maybe.
Yeah, the markets. The guys that are selling, yelling. In that you see on TV where they yell at, I want to buy this, and they want to buy this, or The Wolf of Wall Street, for example. If you've seen that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah.
So what would you be doing? Sort of, would you just be like in a small room looking at numbers and then presenting those, or would it be again stock exchanged or something like that?
Yeah, I think it will be more market oriented in the
Okay.
sense that, we'll have like a screen perhaps, maybe because there are two types of different traders. They're like on-screen traders where, you just see numbers on your screen and then you just choose whether you want to buy or you want to sell from that screen. Or you're going to be like over the counter, which is basically you speaking with a broker, which connects you with another person that's buying or selling, and they match you to based on your demands.
Mm.
So it's probably going to be one of those, but ultimately there's going to be a lot of calculating, like how am I going to manage my risk, right? If I want to buy this thing, I want to kind of mitigate the risk that I have if this asset just goes down in price. So I'm going to have like a supplementary sort of trade to make sure that risk is lowered as much as possible. So there's going to be a lot of calculations with that. So it's mainly a lot of calculation, and it's going to go with the markets a lot. And so, you're just gonna have to be on top and stay like at the top of your game. It's gonna be a really high pressure environment, but I feel like that's an environment where I really want to be in. So
Mm.
it's ultimately why I decided to choose trading
Mm.
over something that's more relaxed, I guess, because that's the thrill in, just being fast in a fast paced environment.
Okay. Yeah, I see. So, do a lot of people go into their own businesses in that sort of line of work, or is it more? I guess it's you can still work for somebody, but you're just
Mm-hmm.
talking about starting your own thing.
Yeah. I feel like you would have to have a sizable amount of capital to start something like that on your
Mm.
own. But at the same time, I feel like if you have built like strong enough connections, if you know a lot of people, then it would make it easier in a way to start something up, not just with yourself, but perhaps with, close friends that you've known along the way, and people that you think are really capable of starting this up with you. So it all boils down to, how resourceful you can be, and, at the end of the day, there is a lot of resources in London because everything is just right smack dab in the center of everything.
100%. So how was it moving? Like, I guess you just said you came back to the UK. How was the whole thing from like Malaysia to the UK? Wasn't it like a like kind of a big step to do all that? You know?
Yeah. The first time coming here, it was quite of a new experience for sure. I mean, the weather is completely different. Like back in Malaysia,
Yeah.
there's only one like constant weather. It's always hot. It's sunny or rainy, but it's always gonna be really hot there. But when you come to the UK, it's like, okay, spring, summer, autumn, winter, but it's gonna be like raining like every other day. The sky is gonna be super gloomy.
Mm-hmm.
But it took quite a while to get used to it. And to be frank, like I'm still like not super used to it just yet because of how dry the weather is compared to, back home. It's, there's some sort of moisture in the air, but over here it's just, your throat just gets super dry all the time, and you just have to keep on drinking more and more water.
Mm.
But yeah, moving here, because I was at a boarding school before this, back in Malaysia. So
Mm.
it in that sense, it hasn't really changed that much. Just the environment around me, I guess.
Mm.
Because if you're in a boarding school, you're away from home essentially.
Mm.
You're studying on your own, and you're just being independent, and that was pretty much what prepared me to move overseas away from where I was from. And
Yeah.
so generally just a brand new experience, but something that I am sort of familiar with at the same time.
Is it very common to be in a boarding school in Malaysia, or is it like something that is not super common or whatever? Is it?
Mm, I I think it's not super common, but at the same time, it's not something super special as well.
Okay.
So there are boarding schools and there are like just normal schools where you just come from home and just study and go back home.
Mm. Yeah, because we have sort of the similar thing here in Denmark, where we
Mm-hmm.
when we have normally you can go to you have to have at least I think it's 7 years of education in like the normal school system, and then you can start after that. Usually it's like in the ninth and the 10th grade where you can go to something we call after school. It sounds very
Mm-hmm.
weird when I translate it from Danish to English and call it after school, but it's basically where you, instead of going to your regular local school, you go to a school that is probably like a little ways away, that has it's more focused on being also independent. So it's sort of like a boarding school, but you're not that far away, because Denmark is of course not a very big country, so you're not very far away from. So you go home on the weekends and stuff like that, and you probably maybe also do that in boarding school. But it's sort of this, maybe the same thing, where you can kind of learn a little bit more about how to be independent before you kind of start your next step of your education, which is usually like, that would be, I think it would be equal to high school or something like that, before you went to university or something like that. So yeah,
So is this like a mandatory thing? Is there like no option for like, okay, I want to study at home, then I'll go to a school that just does not have boarding over there? Or is it like all schools over, like after that certain stage is a boarding school?
The if you just call them boarding schools, I guess we can just call them that. Goes to all the way to the 10th grade, like from, again, usually I think people mostly go in the 9th and 10th grade, but 9th and 10th grade, that's a very hard word to say. But I think you can also do it in 8th, but I don't really think a lot of people do that. It depends on if you really want to get out of your own school, I guess, because maybe you were mismatched in that class, because not every class is amazing, and there can always be bullying and stuff like that. But it's not mandatory. You can still go at your local school all the way to the 10th grade. Sometimes in the 10th grade, you do have to move school, because usually, again, people try in the 10th grade, people are starting to go, maybe somebody wants to be a carpenter, or they want to be an electrician and stuff like that. Then they don't really need that much of like this. They want to start their kind of want to do their hand, what it's called, it's a electrician's education and stuff like that.
Craft,
their craft, exactly. They want to start their craft because they don't need more education than that, because it's not specific to being an electrician, for example. So at that point, people kind of scatter. So we usually in the 10th grade, people move to, like, they kind of collect those, so they have bigger groups of, they can actually make classes, because people start to do their own thing and stuff like that, because they're starting to be
more like specializing, I guess.
Yeah, they're specializing in what they want to do with their lives and stuff. So but you can go locally to the 10th grade. So the boarding school is an optional thing that some people, again, opt into, because maybe they're not fit in that class they are, or they have other interests, where it's some boarding schools, for example, here in Denmark, is, so you have some, of course, your what is it called? Your mandatory subjects. You of course Danish and math and such. But then when they don't have school, for example, they have something very specific. There's places. Some schools are very much into gaming, for example. Some are very much into like horses or something like that. So basically, every time you have time off, you basically take care of the horses, or you be gaming on a more of a professional training kind of thing, if that's what you're into. But there is, of course, has to be some mandatory stuff that basically, of course, goes on. But that's kind of how it works. So it's again more specific. So some people that are very into horses, for example, would pick one of those, for example, or whatever their interest is. There's many of them that kind of caters to all different sort of interests. So there's just a couple examples of some. So those are pretty cool boarding schools, but your boarding school was not like that, right? It's just like a school away from school, or what?
Because we have these things called A levels, which is pretty much after you finish like 11th grade, then you move on to either doing A levels or IB, which is like a separate program. So after that, as you say, everyone scatters around. Depends on which kind of country you want to go to. So you just follow like that country's specific education system. So if let's say you're going to the US, then it would be IB. If you're going to Australia, there's like a separate one. Like, so each country has basically its own education system, and even though we're in Malaysia, we'll still follow that country's system in order to sort of like maximize the probability of getting into the best possible university in that country.
So it's very much it's very much about like, because here in Denmark, for example, there's not a lot of talk about studying in other countries. Like a lot of people don't do that. But is it I wouldn't say very common, but is it common to look to other countries for education in Malaysia? Like I know there's education in Malaysia, but is it there?
Yeah.
Is it very much like it's either stay here and in Malaysia and have a little bit of education, or you can do it even better in some of the other countries? Is that kind of the mindset?
Yeah, I feel like brain drain is one of the biggest factors in Malaysia as well, because a lot of people end up, thinking the grass is greener on the other side, and perhaps it is, and so far I think it is. And so quite a few of these, like for the people around me that I know, of course, at least most of them aim to get out of the country to study overseas, because at the same time it is a new experience, right? If you're like 18, 19, you want to explore the world, and so it is a great opportunity to get to understand like a whole new culture, get to enjoy, in a sense, a new place that you've never been before, because you've been 18, 19 years in the same old country that you've been in. And so I think it's also about a matter of perspective, because a lot of people also think that, okay, maybe life is just better here as opposed to overseas. But in general, I feel like there is pretty much a big mix between some people that prefer to stay in the country and some people that just want to move out and explore the world.
Yeah, I that's also very, very interesting, because, like I said, the mindset here in Denmark is that you don't do education, and like of course you are allowed to. There's no rules that say you're not allowed to study in other countries, but maybe it's and I don't know that. I'm just assuming something now, and you should correct me if I'm wrong. It just seems like, from what you're saying, is that the education system in Malaysia is, well, I guess you kind of said it in the beginning, it's not as good as it is in other countries. So you're kind of, if you want a good enough education, you should look to other countries, and sort of that's the mindset, and that's kind of how you are. Okay, do you want to make it like, would you have a big job, or would you like to have a big education? Then it's not Malaysia you should be looking at. You should be looking at
Yeah, that's precisely it.
Because it's the other way around in Denmark. Because, like, I'm not saying that again. I'm not saying that education in Denmark is better than Malaysia, but maybe it is. And then the mindset is not like, well, you can go to other countries and study, but you really don't need to, because it's gonna be the same, right?
No, because I think that's the difference between like a somewhat developed country and a developing country. Is that there's a difference in education, and that's where the brain drain comes in, where most of the top talents in the country just decides to move out in search of better opportunities.
Do you think that's a problem, that like you just talked about, you want to find a job in the UK, right? And then you might want to stick around. Maybe you find like a family here. You're gonna start you find somebody, and you want to start a family and all that stuff, and then so you're still in the UK. You will never go back, and then like you will not be developing the Malaysia, if you know what I mean. Like if you take the talent, like you just said, out of Malaysia, like that talent is not in Malaysia to develop the country anymore. So you think it's kind of stuck in a way there?
Yeah, certainly. Like there has been a lot of concern about brain drain, which is the official sort of jargon for that process. And I think in general I would obviously like to move back at some point, because it's things are so much cheaper then. You're also more like kind of used to things back at home, because home is the best place to be at the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, it wouldn't hurt to explore the world for a few years, and maybe in the long run it might be better. But I'm not a big guy on economics, so I wouldn't know what would be the best ways to solve these kind of things. But ultimately, it is a big thing that is happening.
Yeah, I don't know either what the solution is, but I can just kind of see the thing that if you don't have a good what's it called, a good ground, ground floor, whatever you call it, like a good foundation, then
Foundation, yeah.
then people are going to look to other places, and that's fine. But like if you again take all the talent out of the country, like they're probably not going to come back, because why would they? Because now they have an amazing job, and maybe they started a family and all that stuff. So they're kind of maybe hindering themselves by not, but they could also be in a position where it's hard to make that foundation.
Yeah.
Not to turn it political or anything, but
I mean, that's something left to the government to find out and explore, right?
Yeah. So we don't forget. I guess we kind of covered all that stuff. That it was very interesting to learn about Malaysia and well,
Denmark as well. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But the education part of it. But I think we should maybe turn it into a little bit more about Trove, so we don't run out of time before we talk about Trove. I guess if we just make sure that we check that mark off as well. Not that there's any script. People should know there's no script, because how much I mess up, then they know there is no script. But
same here.
but the so you started making some. I guess it's just easier to talk about, or I think it maybe is better to start with the kind of how you got into Trove, and then I guess we can move on to kind of the content creator part of it.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, I started playing the game in around 2019, and before that, I was just newly permanently banned from a previous game that I was in. So I was just looking for a new game to play, and so I just came across Trove, and I just found it, really interesting. So I just started delving deeper into it, and started playing it as my main game, and so it just started from there. Right? At that point, I think my channel wasn't really that big at all. Like I wasn't really getting many views. It was probably around like 1,000. Or maybe like a few hundred subscribers, maybe even less, that even cared about watching Trove videos, because there's like something brand new to them that they didn't really like. Because before that, I was also making content on a different game. It was called Cubic Castles. That was, when I was 2017, for a few years until 2019, then I had to transition over to Trove. And then from then on, it just, that was where it started. And I played for like probably 3 or so years. I had a lot of breaks in between, just on and off, based on my circumstances.
Yeah, so it wasn't only like because of Trove itself you took breaks. It was also because of education or
yeah, mainly education.
Okay, so there was no friends or anything like that was like playing the game, they introduced you to the game or anything, like you just kind of found the game yourself?
Yeah, because honestly, I feel like the game is really niche. If you were to go out there, and I have went out there, and people have asked me like, "Oh, what games do you play?" I say, "Oh, Trove," and they're like, "Oh, is that like Roblox or like something?" So it's a really niche game. Not many people know about it, and it's just something different, I guess, than what mainstream games there are out there.
Yeah, for sure. It does have the own niche, and it is funny, but Trove, because it's you can say a lot of things about it, but it is the concept of the game and kind of how it is both kind of simple, but also kind of in a little way also complicated. But mostly it's just very simple in certain ways. Maybe that's appealing to people, but it's not like something where it's gonna attract a lot of people, because like this doesn't have like amazing graphics. Like some people are very much into, if it has amazing graphics, I want to play the game. Doesn't really matter if it's good or not, but they want like just amazing graphics. And some people just want great PvP, or people want great like storylines or anything like that. So it has a lot of things going for it, but not in like specific areas. I see, like it's not like, hey, I'm playing Trove because of the graphics, or I'm playing Trove because of the storyline, or like you have in some other games.
Yeah, I guess Trove is more of like a really grindy game than if you enjoy like working your way up and just
Mm.
enjoy like a process of building something from scratch, then perhaps it might be something for you. But that's not something a lot of people want, I guess.
No, it is. As you say, it's a really grinding game, and I think that's maybe what appeals to people. It's very satisfying when you hit those goals because it's very
Yeah.
simple. It's a very simple way to get there, but it's a very long way. But then when you do get to it, you're not your brain is not completely mush because of being like you had so many things you had to keep thinking about all the time. It's just like sit
Hmm.
down, start, and just go until you hit that goal, right? Um,
Yeah.
and then when you hit that goal, you get that dopamine because you just finally
Yeah.
hit that goal, and
And you set a new one after that, and it just keeps going on and on and
mm,
on.
yeah. So what did why did Trove kind of appeal to you? What was it that you made it to your main game, for example?
Mm, I feel like I was always searching for a game where I can, grind and, if you put in a lot of time, then it will be shown
Mm,
in your progress. And
mm,
so I feel like PvP games or, first person shooters, FPS type games are in some ways, yes, if you're good at the game, perhaps you'll get to a higher rank. But at the same
mm,
time, when it comes to MMOs like Trove, it is more about how much work you put in to achieve a certain level, and it's like much harder to achieve certain things. And as you said, there's some sort of gratification or dopamine hit when you reach a new like rank, perhaps like a new power rank milestone, and so it just keeps on going. And when I first started, I just thought that okay, perhaps this is a game where I can play long term, and at the
mm,
same time, since it's such a it has a lot of different game modes. Like you have Geode, you have the original Trove, and you have everything that you can basically have a variety of different ways to play the game, and so that just helps you create content about it. Because if let's say a game is just one dimensional where there's only one way to progress and only one way to optimize and farm, then it wouldn't really make much sense to create content on it. So generally, I was looking for a game that number one is has a lot of potential for content creation,
mm,
and number two is something that I enjoy in the process at the same time. And just Trove just fit the bill, and so that's how I just got into it.
mm. Yeah, that seems like a very also quite nice. Of course, and that's what I also tell people when they ask what if they ask about what they should be streaming, what games should they
Hmm.
make content around, and I'm always saying they should always make content around games that they enjoy themselves because it will show through their content creation and through their stream that they are
Yeah.
enjoying what they're doing because uh, you have to do it for so many hours, and again, yeah, you're not guaranteed that you are going to see any success in any of the games. So it's not like, okay, I'm just going to play, for example, the most popular game. At one point, it was
Yeah.
like Fortnite or whatever. But there are so many people that are streaming Fortnite. So the chances of
Hmm.
you, getting discovered or blowing up, being famous, whatever, being a big content creator on a game that has so many content creators is also hard. But the
Yeah.
thing is that it doesn't mean that, okay, then I should be looking at a small game or a smaller game, for example, as Trove, because then, of course, there isn't the same audience to it. But then, of course, you're
Yeah.
not competing with as many people. But the thing is, you have to do this for a very long time. So maybe you think
Yeah.
that, okay, I'm going to play Fortnite because there's a lot of people streaming it. There's a lot of people watching it. I have a chance of blowing up or being totally a big content creator. Uh,
Hmm.
but you're suffering doing it. That's the point. Like, yeah, you
Yeah.
you might you might you might do it. You might do it, of course, but you are also playing a game you don't like to play, for example. Because
Yeah.
I'm the same way with
That's
the
true.
first person shooter thing. I don't enjoy first person shooters, for example. It has to be some sort of grind or
Hmm.
MMO element to it. That's or RPG, for example, as well.
Yeah.
That's more my wheelhouse.
I feel like for me, FPS, as much as I would like to play them, I just get super dizzy if I play for like probably over 20 to 30 minutes. So it's just something that I just couldn't see myself doing. Especially after every session, I'll just have to lie down and take a break and something like that. So not really my cup of tea as well.
No, like I don't think that. Again, you have to do it for many hours, and you should be enjoying yourself, because there of course you should shoot for the stars and try to become whatever, if that's what you want, if you want to be a big time content creator. But like, the way to it also has to be enjoyable, because there is a chance that as there is a chance you becoming that big content creator, there's also a chance you're not gonna be, anything. And then let's say you play for 500 hours a game, and you never make it. Then you wasted 500 hours by playing something you didn't like to play.
Yeah, that is true.
So, but then you started doing content for Trove.
Yeah.
What got you into making content for Trove? Like, how was your kind of thing there, or like, did you just want to make content, or was there something specific for Trove or was it because of that other game you were playing as well that you were making content for?
Yeah, initially I used to make content on that game, and then once I got banned from it, I just had to transition to something else. So it's like content creation was already kind of something I was pursuing in a way. And so when the game changed, it just changed to, okay, this is a new game. I want to explore it. I want to learn more about it. So that's what I did. And as I explored and learned more about it, I shared my thoughts. I shared my process. I shared how I got to whatever rank it was at that stage. And so after that, it just kept on going and going. And, as I got better at the game, I could afford to, share more insightful information about it and how to progress as quickly as possible. And so it just kept on going bigger and bigger and bigger. As you say, you have to spend a lot of hours to get good at a game like Trove and any MMO in general. And then I just saw a huge potential in the game, and so that's why I chose it. And to some extent, I don't regret choosing it, even though I might say at times like, oh, I've wasted so many hours, like a few thousand, maybe 6,000, 7,000 hours on the game in like a few years. But at the same time, it was kind of an insightful process, because I got to learn more about not just the game, more about myself as well. And it's not like the experience entirely was a bad thing, even though I had many breaks at the same time. Maybe I had a lot of mood swings and mindset changes about my outlook on the game itself. But overall, I feel like it was an important journey in life for me.
Yeah, like there's been like ups and downs, and that will be in any game. And I think right now people are kind of waiting for a little bit of a big update that kind of, I wouldn't say save the game, because the game is not dying or anything like that. People have been saying that the game has been dying for like 2018 or something like that. Like it's been dying, or even before that. But yeah, it has taken its toll, and that happens to any game, and we'll see what happens in the future for it. But what I really like about Trove, well, of course, is the grind thing that you can do. But like for my content creator preview or prospect, or whatever you call it, I'm mostly, because I like to help people, and I could help people in many other games as well. But I just have this knowledge about Trove, so that's kind of where my knowledge lies. There's many other people. I've been always thinking about, like, reaching out and doing other games that I also do have some knowledge about, but I feel like I don't know if I would really know that much as I do about Trove. Like I won't feel as confident in the same thing, if you know what I mean. Like
makes sense. Yeah, I've been there at the same time. Like at some point, I also tried to get into Genshin Impact as well. So I had a short transition. Like I took a short break from Trove. I played Genshin for around 3 to 4 months. As you said, it's really important to have a game that you like. At that time, I kind of liked Genshin Impact, but at the same time, it didn't have the same prospects as Trove had for me, because number one, it's more of like a single player game. It doesn't really have that much of a multiplayer aspect to it. And so, as you said earlier as well, the concern of not being able to give the best tips and not being confident with whatever content you put out. Also having like a lot of different competition, I would say, from other content creators, because it's also one of the big games out there back then in around 2021. So yeah, I definitely did experience the same thing that you've been speaking about. It's really, really common for sure.
Yeah. I took a risk on, not risk, I wouldn't call it a risk, but I got into MapleStory when that hit the West MapleStory 2, and I really liked the game as well, and sort of a little bit like Trove in certain aspects. And I felt kind of that I could also provide some information about that one, but I kind of ended up, well, of course the game ended. Of course they shut down the servers here on the western side. But the point is that, you're always under kind of a loop. You're always being looked at very narrowly at people that are into the game, and they are going to call you out if you don't. Of course, we can always be wrong. Anybody can be wrong. Like, even I can be wrong about Trove and the things that, has been going on and is going on probably. But the point is that I feel like I can better defend myself if I was to be... if somebody has a different opinion than I have. Like, some stuff are just facts, there's facts are facts. But there is sometimes some opinions, like, for example, if you make a tier list, for example, of which classes are best, that's always something people really want to watch,
right?
but there's also some people that also want to be like, oh, why did you put the Nier Ninja, for example, in last place, for example, and that's one of the reasons why I stopped making tier lists. The main reason was that I stopped because the classes are so close to each other now, that damage-wise and stuff like that. Now it mostly comes down to what you like as a playstyle. There is some that are a little bit better than the others, but they're mostly clumped together, so it's not really like a big, this one is all the way down in F tier, and this is an S tier one. So there's not that much of a difference as there was at one time, but again, it's also... like the opinions that comes in, so like, why did you put your Nier Ninja in F tier? Because, like, that's my favorite class, and it's so good, and it's so doing this and this. And so I could defend myself, but and in other games I might not be able to do so. Like, for example, like I said, in MapleStory, like I had an idea where things were or things was, but you really have to know your stuff to defend yourself when people do come in and put questions marks on what you're saying and such. But
at the same time, I feel... sorry, go ahead.
No, just go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I mean, it brings a really important point about content creation, right? You're always subject to, like, the views of other people, the criticism from other people, and it's from these views and criticism that you grow as a person and as a content creator as well. And so I think it's a really, really pivotal part of content creation. It's being able to take criticism well and being able to transform your content based on those criticisms that are reasonable and make sense. And
I think a lot of the criticism that you do get is, of course, coming from some sort of it's hard to see it, but I think it comes from a lot of love for, like, the game. For example, if somebody criticizes the game itself, then it, like, I sometimes go on Reddit. That's a big mistake. Don't go on Reddit, by the way, on the Trove Reddit, unless you wanna see not every comment. I think it has become a little bit better, but there was a time, I think a couple of years ago or something like that, or at least a year ago, where, like, somebody was just commenting, a few people were just commenting, like, the Trove is a dead game, don't play this game. Like, every single bit, people that were asking something, like, legit, like, how do I get more of these blocks, for example? Like, there's just, like, then people just, dead game, don't play it. They're like, okay, it's free to play, That's one of the things, though, that I do think is very important, that people should be. And I think people just have a weird mindset about it. I don't know. Maybe it's me that has the wrong mindset. But I feel like some people are playing kind of victims in sometimes when they're talking about the monetization of Trove. While, like, they feel like they have to pay it. Like, you don't have to pay. Of course, if you want to be number one and all that stuff. But if you don't want to spend that money, don't spend that money. Like it's
that's true.
I feel like they put out a new pack. I do have to pay it. No, you don't have to. Of course, you won't be number one, but again, your money is more worth to yourself than it is putting into a game, and it's not worth bankrupting yourself. What it's called, bankrupt.
Making yourself bankrupt.
Going bankrupt because of a game just because you want to be number one. Like in 2 years, it doesn't gonna matter. Like I've seen so many people being number one and quitting the game. That's just what happens, right? And then some other people are gonna be number one, and then some other people are gonna be number one. That just goes for any game. Like don't spend your money if you don't want to spend your money. Don't feel like you're like
obligated to do so.
Exactly. Like you don't play the victim that you do have to do it, because that just doesn't make any positivity. Like I haven't spent money on the game for, I don't know, 2-3 years now. Like I still play. So of course I'm not going to be number one, but again, it's never been my goal to be number one. Of course, if your goal is that and you want to do it, then you also have to put in the time and the money. Because the other people have done that. So you do also have to validate their time and their money they have spent. Like you can't just be number one and then everybody else paid all the way and you just got it all for free, right? So that was just a side note, because I kind of feel like sometimes people kind of have that mindset of they have to spend money on the game, which I really, really don't think they should be doing. I think definitely when you start playing and you gotta get into the game and you think it's amazing and fun and all that stuff, I feel like there is a few things you maybe should really look at. It's like that jump start pack is really amazing. It gives you a lot. Maybe that Sweet 16 pack so you can unlock all the classes, because that can be sort of a drag because you need those chaos cores that can be really random. Not impossible to get. You don't really need to, but it's just like a nice quality, and they're not really huge packs, but if you really enjoy the game, you've spent like, let's say 50, 100 hours in the game, you haven't spent any money, I feel like you not obligated to spend any money, but then I feel like it's all right to be playing. I don't know how much you've spent on the game. If you don't feel comfortable talking about it, it's
no. I'm definitely comfortable talking about it. I was about to raise a point as well. Yeah, I also did see the same observation that you did about the negativity of how people had to spend on the game and all that, and that was pretty much what I based my content on. Which is, I'm not sure if you really know, but it was basically you can make it to the top as a free-to-play player. That was like my philosophy in my content, and I did really emphasize on it, and so I just tried my best to work as hard as I could to progress to the stage that other people might be able to without paying any money in the game. So let's say perhaps maybe into the top 100, which would be the pretty much max you could get without paying any money. And beyond that would be like, okay, you have to spend $1,000 perhaps to get like 1,000 loyalty points to get like this like pay gated pack or whatever. So I just tried my best to show everyone that okay, you can work on the game. Like it's not that you have to pay to play this game. It's not like you have to pay to progress, but at the same time, if you really want to pay, and if you really have the money to spend, and if you really don't want to farm these things, or if you don't really have the time, then I mean, feel free to, but I'm showing you that you can do it without paying at all. And I keep emphasizing this, or at least back in the day when I did or was really serious about it, I would just tell everyone like, whatever you see on this account is what you can get without paying anything in the game. So that was pretty much what I focused on in general.
I think that's super important. Like as a one content creator does that. Like it's also very popular. I feel like it's very popular to see those free to play accounts, whatever, and also journeys that are in the free to play space, because it's always what people always want stuff for free, right? And then when they see something that's talking about free, of course you also have to put the time into it.
For sure.
But I think that it's very important that there is people out there that are doing the free to play stuff, so people do have the option and don't play the victim card with saying I do have to spend some money on it. and because you don't really have to do that, you can still play the game, right? It's you're not like you
Like no
said
one's
yourself.
forcing you, right?
No. But if your goal is to be number one, you do have to spend some money, because then there is the whole thing about there's some packs that are like not be able to get for free. There are some packs you can get for free if you just turn that flux into credits and such. Then you can do it. It's expensive and it's time consuming, but it can be done. And I think it's important that that's out there. So currently. So currently, are you playing Trove, or are you on a? Well, you just got back now, so.
Yeah, so I just got back, and so like I just took another break once again. Like so if you didn't know, I actually gave my account away last year. I think it was May.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that you gave it away. No.
Yeah, no. So I gave my main account last year, which was the year that I started. Going to the UK, and it was brand new experience. I had to settle in, so basically I just gave it away. And after that, right, I came back and I started I didn't really start a new one, but I had like an alternate account which was around like 200 mastery that I used before, for like some videos before that, and I farmed that account up to I don't know 770 mastery like over the past few months, and then I decided to quit it again. And it's just a cycle of where if you still enjoy the game, you just come back when you have the time and you just play, and once you don't have the time again, you just leave it until you have some time for it, then you pick it back up again. So that's pretty much how my journey has been. And a lot of people keep asking me like, oh, you don't have your main account now, like is it like a waste of time? And to some extent, yes, but if I kept on using that account, I wouldn't really have a reason to play the game anymore. So it's like enjoying the process again is one thing.
I think that's also something that is very popular in some games, is where for example, Path of Exile, for example, that I played, that every 3 months, then they make a new league, and then everybody starts over, so everybody is at square one, basically, right? And I think that's also very much with seasons and stuff like that in other games, right? Where you start over, and that's something that I think is really, really fun, and I think it's a lot of people that also enjoy that starting over process, because at some point you just like you can still gain some stuff, but it's basically, for example, also right now, anything I have to buy on the marketplace, for example, there's a lot of stuff I can still buy on the marketplace. But the thing is that every single thing costs like $1 million and more. And sure, $1 million is not too much, and I do have some flux in my inventory. But if I start just buying things like that, then my flux are gonna go way down. And like, what is the gain to it, basically? Because like I'm never gonna hit number one anyways, even if I bought the whole thing on everything on the marketplace, which of course I don't have the flux for. But but I would never hit that, and what would I really gain out of it? You can do some calculations. I think before we got the new mythic gear, like I was like 200 power rank off like number one, like with my highest power rank class, and that 200 power rank, there was difference. That was of course from stuff that was on the marketplace, but also from things like you bought from the actual shop, right? So basically it was just mastery that was dividing me from being number one in or having a maxed out, I guess, class or character in Trove. And there would be so much money and would be so much time that I actually had to invest into it for just 200 more power rank, which was really, I don't really feel like was worth my time or my money for that matter. So we have actually been gone for already an hour, so I think we should just kind of, maybe we can just wrap it up, I guess, and maybe just, if we can do it short, I don't know if we can, but I would just mainly want to hear what your thoughts are on the status of Trove right now. I don't know if you like you just. I think it's actually very impressive that you took it from that other account from 200 to 700 mastery, or 750 in those 2 months, whatever it was. I think that's very, very impressive. But I would just I think there'd be a nice ending to it to kind of hear your thoughts on this, on the status of Trove right now.
The status of the game. Yeah, I've definitely heard of a lot of bad, a lot of good, and throughout the past few years, right? You just see how the game evolves as a whole. From 2020, during the pandemic, where there was just an influx of new players into the game because of the pandemic, and after that, everyone just leveling off later on because they perhaps moved into other games, and that there were lots of ups and downs. But overall, I feel like despite all that has happened, all the duping or perhaps all the cheating and botting and whatever, overall, despite like its flaws, I feel like Trove as a game is not a bad game at all, in my opinion. It is still playable to some extent, even though perhaps maybe the economy might be bad, maybe some stuff might be 10 times more expensive than they used to be. It doesn't mean that it is like a really bad game or it's devolving into a really bad game, right? Like they're still releasing new content for players that are interested in working towards it. If let's say if you don't want to go to get that mythic set, let's say, then just don't get it and just stay with what you have, right? You have the choice that you can make to farm for certain things if you want to. It's not like you really need that certain thing in order to make it somewhere. So it all depends, because I feel like now I'm a more casual player. I just don't really care about getting to the top anymore. It's just about working your way up, not really to the top, but to a level that you want to work to. Let's say you want to get to a certain milestone, like a new badge, power rank badge or something. Then that's still a really really good game for that to fulfill like some of your goals, right? That you want to set.
Yeah.
And so in general, despite what everyone has to say about how bad the game is or how bad it is becoming, in itself, it is still a great game, and I'm glad that ultimately I did manage to get my hands onto the game and play it, even though at some times I might have felt that I've wasted my time on the game. It was still a great experience overall, and if you ask me if I had to redo it all again, I would do it all again, actually.
Yeah, I think it's very important that it gets said that it is not really like there's like, I think some people just sometimes live in a bubble where they kind of see that it's only Trove that's bad. Like there's many other games. When I see other games, people also complain about those games. So it's not like exclusive to just being on Trove. And I think that that we're just kind of like, I think sometimes they just make a few mistakes, which could be I think the main problem right now, at least for me, in the sense of that's kind of just seeing I've seen the path now, how to progress into the mythic gear, for example, but I feel like they just kind of dropped the ball on explaining that completely. I know they just introduced a quest which makes it a little bit more linear, but I kind of feel like they didn't really show a direct path of what they wanted us to, how to progress, basically. I think that was kind of the issue. But I do have some ideas that I won't spoil them here, but I do have some ideas to what I think they should progress into, and I think that this was something that should have been introduced at the same time, which would then had not softened the blow for that in that matter, but just kind of seeing
impact,
okay,
right?
you have to do this and this and this to implement it. So if people are still listening after an hour, you can see that in my idea video that will be coming out later the year. I always do an idea video, and I've written it down. I think it's what it needs. I can tell you after, so you can know. But I think I will keep that on the. Yeah, I don't think it matters that I say it now, because like it won't get out there, I guess. It won't be implemented before they do an update. Maybe usually they do around Christmas time. I don't think if they heard it now, they would change anything. So I'll just hold on to it before that. But I guess that's a little bit of a teaser. I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for taking your time. If anybody listening still this far, then thank you for listening this far. I hope all the audio was great. But mostly, I'm just very happy that we had this conversation. So even if it turns out horrible, I'm just happy that I got to know a little bit more about you. I've seen your videos, right? But you don't really know the person.
Yeah, that's true.
Behind as much.
Behind the content creation, right?
Yeah, except if your content creation is that you basically put yourself out there. If it's like blogging or whatever, that's the But gaming is mostly just about the game, right? That's usually why people watch your videos. People don't want I don't do many story times or updates on my life and stuff like that because that's not what my content is around. I did make one like a couple of days ago, but that was more just to. It's like 2 weeks since I made a video, so it's kind of wanted to.
Just like updating them, right?
Yeah, just kind of like
more
that.
or less.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me on, man. Like it's been a great experience. Got to learn more about a lot of things as well.
Yeah, I think hopefully people had a good time listening as well.
Yeah,
so
hopefully, we'll see in the comments.
You will see in the comments, yeah, hopefully. So yeah. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to LateCom for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. See you in the next video.